Good morning, Nikolina. Welcome to my name is Mario. This is my new show. I'm happy to have you as my second guest. Thank you very much for being here. How are you doing?
Hi, Pietro. So, thank you first for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here. And yeah, good morning. It's
Good
uh,
morning.
it's a morning time, so I'm still fresh.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the first thing I'm doing today, so still fresh, still on my coffee, and it's a gorgeous sunny day, so everything is set to be
Oh yeah.
perfect.
People don't know that we are recording at 9:30 of Friday morning. So the sun actually also for me is a good sunny day. I'm very lucky. It's the second episode, the second day that I have the sun. And normally, I live in Poland. It's not like the best weather ever. So,
Exactly.
I'm very happy. That makes me
It's a
happy.
good sign for your podcast, it's sunshine.
I didn't see that way. Didn't see that way. Right. Actually, it might be that the universe somehow is
Yeah.
it's helping me. I don't know, maybe it's a good show, like it's a good the show. There is I think at the end of Rick and Morty or something else, there is like this splash screen. It's a good the show. And maybe I should use it as my something to use in my podcast. But thank you once again for being here, and I will try to contain my hands moving activity because I've heard that I move too much my hands. I'm Italian. What can I tell you? But we've known each other already for some times, right? So it's
Yeah.
not a couple of days. I think we met back 12 years ago or something like that. I think it was
Wow. Yeah.
2011.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, long
Wow.
time ago, yeah. When you
Yeah.
think about it, because in my head this is like yesterday, but yeah, it was more than a decade when we met first time. Yeah.
Yes, it's really been a long time.
Really been a long
But
time. But
I've always
always,
felt I hear an echo now. I hope that we will not hear it. Let's see. Okay, I don't hear it anymore. It's beautiful. So you've always inspired me. I have to say along the years before. So I met you when you were working at Rovio. You've done some great things. At some point, you left Rovio. So I will give you like a couple of like a couple of minutes, or like sometimes as long as you need to describe what is like a little bit your career. But before we do that, I wanted to do this thing that I always do with my guests. So I have my cloned voice, right? I clone my voice and I ask AI to create a text to describe you, and then basically it's done. So you are gonna hear my voice, but is AI work basically. And
nice.
here it is. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's try.
Meet Nikolina Finska, a luminary in the gaming industry with a career spanning over a decade. Nikolina's journey through the world of gaming is marked by her leadership in both well-established studios and dynamic startups, contributing her expertise to over 20 game titles, primarily in the mobile and free-to-play F2P sectors. Before diving into gaming, Nikolina honed her leadership skills in the IT sector and government roles, laying a strong foundation for her future endeavors. Currently, she serves as the COO of the US-based gaming studio Rainbow Unicorn Games, where her strategic acumen and innovative spirit drive the company forward. Beyond her executive role, Nikolina is deeply committed to nurturing the next generation of talent. She actively mentors underrepresented founders through the EIC Initiative and offers her wisdom as a consultant for international studios. Her passion doesn't stop there. Nikolina is a staunch advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion day, mental health, and accessibility to gaming education. Nikolina's insights into the gaming world are not confined to boardrooms and development studios. She takes her knowledge to the airwaves with her podcast, Leading the Way, where she engages in candid conversations about the realities of being a woman entrepreneur in a predominantly male industry. Furthermore, her literary contribution, Modern Game Testing, offers valuable perspectives on the intricacies of game development and quality assurance. With a career as multifaceted as the games she helps create, Nikolina Finska is not just leading the way. She's forging new paths and inviting us all to join her on this remarkable journey.
No,
I hope that our listeners, especially on YouTube, will not have a problem. At some point, I was hearing the echo of the voice from my phone, but it's quite remarkable.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
I mean, I'm listening. I was like, wow, when you put it in these words, it sounds amazing. This is way better than anything I could describe myself.
You see, so you can. I will send you the text. You can
Yeah,
use it. You can use
please.
it for
Yes,
your
this is
for your own
great.
work.
Yeah.
Yes. Nikolina, I really, to be honest, I don't know where to start because with you is like, Jesus, where do I start? I start with Rovio, I start with DEI, I start with your book. Let's start with the and also thanks to the AI, staunch use the word staunch, which helped me to know a new word I didn't know. So like, and now I'm more intelligent. So, what do you think if we start from your books? Because I want to hear more. I want to know what drove you into writing your first book. Why do you think it was necessary? I think it was necessary, but of course. But tell me something about your book.
Well, I had this idea of writing this book long time ago because, well, coming back to Rovio, I realized that there is not much education about when it comes to the modern games testing. Most of the stuff was about how to test the games for consoles, which is literally old-fashioned, but how to test the games like modern teams, like agile teams, mobile free-to-play games, because they have their own specifics. There was not much about it. And I started this kind of education for the QA people in Rovio as well. I was insisting that they get ISTQB training. They learn more about the QA as a discipline, not just to go play the games to oblivion, but actually have some strategy on how to approach this. Um, and I created lots of PowerPoints, to do some internal training. And I always felt like, one day when I have some time, I should put these PowerPoints in the book. And then, fast forward, I did lots of consulting afterwards my career, and very often would be in the QA management. And again, I was like, I wish there would be a book I could recommend about QA, but there is nothing. And fast forward, I think it was like big 20. And that's maybe part of a different topic that I felt like my life is falling apart. It was the COVID year and lots of things went wrong. And I went through the burnout and I had to rethink my career. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do with myself? And then I decided, well, have all of this knowledge. Now I have time to kind of put it into something practical, into something that other people can use. So I made a Udemy course in QA. And then maybe 6, 9 months after that, publisher contacted me and said, "Hey, would you be interested to write a book about uh, games QA?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it for decades, but they didn't have a discipline or time to kind of commit to it. But when you have a publisher contacting you, it's like, sure, I'll do it because then I didn't have to take care of all of this stuff, how the book is going to be edited, how is it going to be formatted. Then the publisher taking this boring parts for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went to the journey of writing a book, and it was super exciting, and it was easier and more difficult than I thought. Both things. But yeah, now it's out for I think about 4 months that it came out. And yeah, and I'm pretty proud of it, and I think it's something that it is niche. When we look about it, this is not a book which will be, a light reading. It's something that you use if you are interested in QA or work in the gaming industry or you want to get into QA, that you can really use also as a manual how to do things. But it does have some, war stories. It does have some examples from the past, some anecdotes, so to make it a little bit, easier to digest. So try to make it not just as a very strict book, but it has these little parts of it that makes it more exciting or easier to read.
Yeah, and I have, yeah, no, I have to say that it's very necessary. You're right that I like the fact that the title is Modern Game Testing. I like the fact that it's modern because it's
Mm,
it's really unbelievable how much the whole setup of testing has changed. I know you know
mm,
that I was born professionally in this industry in QA, right? Like LQA and FQA, and I still work for a company that actually does, offers QA, one of the services. And so I knew actually QA inside out. But since I moved into a different role, that is not, with my hands, like with my dirty hands in QA all the time, I have noticed that it's now only, well, only I say only 8 years that I've been doing something else. And even though I still connected to QA, to testing, it has changed dramatically. In the sense, whenever, like, just yesterday I was having a call with a partner, and there were someone from my company also, they were talking about QA, and they just realized how I needed to fade out and just like remain in the corner and let the big guys talk. Guys actually were girls, like, like, just,
mm.
but yeah, they were like, I have amazing colleagues that they know everything about QA. So, and it's true that has changed. I remember from you remember the early days of testing mobile, how it was terrible with all the, there was not Apple and Google Play, there were all the different carriers that were offering the service. So
Yeah,
testing was
yeah.
crazy. Those were the pioneer days, and I remember it was crazy. So, from of course we don't need to talk about that, but like nowadays, right? How is it modern testing? What are there any particular challenges in testing games? Because, and with that we can link it to everything that is happening currently, like, like very recent fresh news about what's happening with Apple Unity. So all those things that are happening, what's the so I'm going to ask you this grand question. So what's modern testing? What are the challenges? What is the future of testing on mobile?
So this is more, so I have to say this is about manual testing. So it's not about automation. The book is not that technical. It's more about how to approach testing, how to do it, and getting a bigger picture, because I think that's very important. Because sadly, usually nobody thinks about QA. They're somewhere at the end, and then nobody explains them stuff. And then, people at the end are like, okay, I do the best I can with this limited information. So this is really about when you have QA in your team, that you're working with agile environment where you have working as smaller teams where QA is embedded, and they're not only the people who would make sure that the game works and there's no bugs. They're also being here to represent the player as well. So they kind of have a bit of a different role, and look at the game more holistically. And the challenges are like how to make this all work. How QA also needs to understand the business perspective of the games as well, because you work with the free-to-play games that sometimes they are very different from console games or PC games. Like, what's the understanding of quality? Because you work with the features that are, minimum viable product pretty much early on. How to report bugs that are relevant in the right stage. How to deal with the live ops. There's no books about it. So all of this is in the book, and kind of giving some guidelines how to approach things, how to organize your work, and of course, there's some basics, how to write a good bug, how to escalate problems. There is also a chapter where I talk about how to work with outsourced partners. Like every gaming studio will have some outsourced QA sooner or later. Nobody teaches you how to do that. And then you have people who don't have a clue how to get good relationship going, because nobody, everybody thinks it's just easy. It's not.
Amen.
You can
Amen, Nikolina. Amen. Glory to Nikolina. I totally agree. That's an important. So sorry to jump in like in the middle of your conversation, but this is something really touches my heart, and it is true. It is true. It's very hard to do it. Not many companies that actually know how to do that, establishing a rapport. But even in the moment before, not many actually know how to the whole negotiation part, for example, of a contract, how to choose. And that's a
Yes.
big thing. They all do it, but being on the other side, I know how most of them, they do it wrongly, and they could get like
Yes.
much better deals in terms of quality, in terms of like better
Yes.
contracts, and they just don't know how to do it.
Yes, so this is all in the book. I tell you, okay, this is the things you should look for. This is how you should negotiate, and it also tells about my pet peeve is when I worked in the gaming studios that they have outsourced partners and they're not happy with something, and then they will not say. And then suddenly they just comes like, oh, we are canceling the contract because we are unhappy for 6 months. I was like, your partner wants to make you happy because they want to keep the deal, but you have to tell them what they're doing wrong because they're not, psychic. And then say, hey, can you optimize this or do this differently? But if you're just quiet, they can't fix what they don't know needs fixing. So I was like, you're not making people uncomfortable. You're actually doing them a favor, being like saying, okay, we need to fix this. So there are lots of these small things that can be just done better to have a better relationship, and then also how to escalate. How to do it in a constructive way if there's an issue, how to support, which is really important, your outsource partners, because they're not in the all room with you. They just know what you tell them. If you don't give them enough information, they will do what you tell them. They don't have a hidden speaker or hidden participation in your internal meetings. They don't know this. You have to. It's like if you give them too much information, that's great because they can just discard what they don't need. But that's much lesser evil than not giving them enough information. So yeah, I mean, I try to put in the book all of the stuff that I learned, all of the stuff that I found frustrating, that there was no education or guidelines how to do. So basically, everything from my experience, I try to squash in this one book, and hopefully, it's going to help people to have more efficient QA and to make this ease into QA as a discipline easier as well. That when you are starting in a QA, that you have something you can pick up and kind of take as a guideline. Okay, this is how it works. Because especially in a medium and small size studios, there's often no QA management. There's one QA person, and then they are in charge for lots of things, and sometimes it's overwhelming. So having some book like this can really help you out make better decisions, organize QA better, have a better grasp of how everything works, get a better understanding of how the actual studio operations work, and what you need to take into account when you are organizing your QA. I also talk about how to work together with the player support, for example, because they work together very often in the especially in live ops, but nobody tells you or guides you how to do things like that. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
summary of what's in a book. I think it's about 200 pages, so there's lots of stuff, but there's lots of pictures as well, so it's not only text.
Ah, there are no funny pictures. Nothing.
No, they're not very funny. They're charts usually, but hey, I try
Boring.
to sell it as funny.
Boring. No, okay, sorry. No, not boring at all, of course. But no, it's interesting. This whole topic, it's very dear to me. Like, and everything you said, I second that perfectly. It's just the way it is. Like the cooperation, what you said about talk to them, let them know. There is one thing that I constantly tell people when people, for example, ask me, and I say I love Finns. I love Finns. I know you lived in Finland for how many years?
16, and I'm married to a Finn. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
But
a mini Finland wherever I go.
exactly. But the good thing there is I love Finns. So
Mm,
and the one thing I like about them is they are incredibly fair. And if they don't like
mm,
something, so in the cooperation that I had with many Finnish companies for in the past what 16, 17 years, I've always noticed this. We do something wrong, they will just tell you, you did something wrong. And this is exactly what you did wrong. And show me how you're gonna do it better. Show me how this is gonna not gonna repeat anymore. And that's beautiful. It's fairness, right? It's not like going out, oh my God, what if this? So there is no aggression, and it's always like a second chance. I give you a second chance, you fix it, and we're friends as before, right? And that is beautiful. And that is the part when you were saying like talk to them, right? Okay, something doesn't
yeah.
go well. I know I don't like this in particular with in details if you can. and then let's start again. People need the second chance. Of course, that continue to happen, then is a different story. But I like that you said before, especially. And also, from so you work for big company like Rovio, and now there is something so cute that you're also you work for a company that is called, like, look at, you want to say the name also?
Uh,
Rainbow
Unicorn
Unicorn.
game. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm actually one of the co-founders as well. So this is my third startup. I had two startups in Finland. One was something between consulting agency and independent publisher, let's put it that way. And from that company, we birthed a gaming studio, which was called Unicorn Pirate Studio. Uh, you wouldn't believe it. I had nothing to do with naming this company, Rainbow Unicorn Games. The name was already decided when I joined in. So it seems like unicorns follow me.
Well, whoever did is a genius, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so yeah, it was like I was not sure, do I want to join the startup again or work in a startup again. I said I was in this crossroads when I joined Rainbow Unicorn Games. Like rethinking my career, how do I want to go further, what do I want to do, and it was the time of big change. Everything was changing. But I met co-founders actually on LinkedIn. We really aligned on issues that were happening at that time with the Activision and the Bobby Kotick and the harassment. And we just kind of, because for me, it was outrageous that nobody reacted. There was lots of women in the industry who reacted, but there was lots of men who in position of power who didn't say anything. And that silence is deafening because I don't expect everybody to react on any issue, on every issue in the industry, because no, like, you can't even be aware of everything. But I'm like, this is not okay. There should be more noise about it. People should step up. Because the silence empowers always the abuser. Silence never empowers the victims. So if you think that you are neutral because you're silent, you are not. You are neutral. Like there's, your silence is deafening as well. So if you really want to support the victims, you have to say something. And so we kind of start to talk about it and issues that we have in the industry as well. And then from that, it came like, I was like, okay, I found very interesting what they're doing. They were doing something very similar, what I was trying to do in a startup. And I like the fact that I have the experience of doing that before and all the challenges and pitfalls. I found it interesting at doing in the United States because the stage is bigger, the stakes are bigger, everything is bigger. And yeah, we started to talk, and about 3 or 4 months, they asked me, "Hey, would you like to join officially as a co-founder?" And then I thought about it for a while. I was like, "Well, um, I mean, I would feel bad saying no because your soul is in it." So I feel like, okay, right, I'm gonna go again on the crazy startup train, and let's see where it takes us. And it's been challenging, being in a gaming startup in these times. It's challenging, but it's been great as well. I learned so much. My partners are super experienced and professional. They have this experience from the US based studios, which is very different how they operate compared to European ones. And one of the things that's really dear to me, they want to really embrace European working practices because there are lots of jokes about how Americans work and how European works. I think there's some famous stand-up comedian about it, how we are very about our working hours and time off, and the United States it doesn't exist. uh,
The differences are incredible. Like, it's no, we are all Western countries,
but
but the difference is humongous. It's really huge. You know that, like, but in everything. Yesterday, also, like, just in another call. It's funny, actually. Everything is yesterday, but yesterday I had calls after calls, and and there was like one of my colleagues from the United States. He mentioned, I just wrote an email. Can we just jump on a call? And I was like, and then I even told him, like, there's a huge difference in Europe. If I write an email to someone, right, I'm reaching out to a new company and I would like to offer my
yeah,
services, etc., and you say, can we jump on a call? No one would do it. No
Mm,
one. No one would jump on a call right away. And in the US, it's actually normal. Okay, let me jump on a call. Let me listen to what the whole, you need to, here in Europe is much different. It's incredible. We seem so similar, but it's huge the difference.
yeah, when it comes to nuances, how we communicate and how we perceive work and work obligations, and even like the benefits that we have. They're like, I have a holiday. It's a national holiday in Croatia. I'm off. I'm go to the beach. They're like, you are gone. I was like, yeah, it's a holiday. You know, if you send me email on Saturday, I'll answer on Monday. You know,
Like,
like, that's just kind of how the things are. And it's just like, oh wow. And we talk about like maternity leave. I was like, well, yeah, it's like year, 2 years. If you want to stay with your baby, and
oh,
well, we have like 2 weeks. I was like, I have 2 weeks when I have a flu. So
oh,
it's
yeah.
just, you know, it,
Someone from Sweden is going for a 1 year paternity leave, even
mm, maternity leave.
paternity,
Yeah,
which for me, even that I live in Poland, I also had only 2 weeks, which is terrible if you ask me, because there is one thing that I
yeah,
adore, spending time with my little daughter.
yeah.
And I had only 2 weeks and he's gone for a year, and I'm
Mm.
thinking like, what?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's in the Finland. I'm not. I might be wrong. So if please forgive me. But as far as I know, that in Finland, I think that you can even. I think they get quite a some. I think you get 2 months as a father, but you can also swap your maternity and paternity leave. So you can split it. That dad takes a bit of mom's time, so they both can spend more time with the kid. So I'm not exactly sure how the law, but I think it's something like that, which is great because I think that kid needs both parents, and it's really unfair to punish fathers that they can only spend couple of weeks with their kid. And also your partner also needs support as well, so it's nice that you're all together as a family, don't think about work. But yeah, I think that in Europe we are kind of in these things with much more. I mean, I don't like to say, but I'm just gonna say it that we are more advanced in things like that. I think that even there's lots of things we need to fix as well. That the workplace is a bit more human centric. That really kind of worries about, okay, how does this human feels at work, and that you have this legislative protection about lots of things, right, which doesn't necessarily exist in the states, or it's very different from a state to state. Some states do a bit better job than the other ones, but nothing compared to European conditions. And then you realize that we actually did go quite far in this employee rights when you compare, because United States is a very advanced country economically, but somehow this human angle of employment is lagging behind Europe a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's something that I really hope, especially for countries like the one that I live in, it will change. It's necessary. It really resonates with me what you said about like kids that need both parents. It's 2024. Sometimes you think like, when are things going to change? Why only the mother? Why not the father? Etc. Etc. Maybe we can all agree. Maybe the kid needs more the mother than the father, but not with this huge discrepancy, right?
Yeah.
It can be like a better balance. Well, anyway, yes, like topic that I think we could switch into talking about DEI also, which I know
Mhm.
it's a huge topic for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. That's something that I'm super passionate about. I'm always working with it, on it, about it. I'm very loud about it, and I think it's really necessary. And one of the things that people, businesses don't understand, that actually diversity, equity, and inclusion is really good for business. Numbers shows over and over again that the more diverse is your business, that you will get, it's easier to get to the new markets. It's easier to, you will get better financial results. You're better managing risks, but it works only if it's for real. It's so you have to have not only diversity but also equity. That this range of people from different backgrounds actually can participate in decision making and creating products and services, that you empower them. Because if you just hire people to have nice pictures, it doesn't work like that. Um, and my passion about diversity, equity, inclusion, I didn't even know what it was, but I was doing it because simply, I'm an immigrant woman who is trying to make it in a very male dominated industry. And simply, you realize that somehow the obstacles I have are not the same as my colleagues have. And then you realize, hey, something is wrong here. Then you talk to your other friends, and then you realize that there's discrepancy, like how we are treated from work to daily life to
But why?
business.
And the reason why I ask why is just like, please, like, help me understand, right? I think we work in the video game industry, right? And it's so like an open-minded industry, compared to other industry, we are blessed. And it's still like, and I'm not a woman, and I just don't know what kind of challenges, what kind of difficulties, what's hard. So I want to hear way more, and I don't hear enough. I don't hear enough. I see, you know me, you know that I'm a how big supporter of like all the rights for LGBTQ plus communities, women in games. I'm all in. I Yes, but what are we doing? Why I'm not hearing enough? Are we actually, for example, women in games? Are we reaching out to young girls in schools, telling them it's totally fine to play games? And yes, you can come to our industry. Please come. Please apply. Please, in a couple of years, are we doing that? Why we don't hear enough?
So, I mean, this is because of patriarchy, which is alive and kicking everywhere in the world, and it's in all the industries. I collaborate a bit with the music industry right now. I'm part of this European Sync project, where I work mostly with people who are in the music industry of Europe. And I can see, for example, compared to the music industry, that we in games did way more about diversity, equity, inclusion. At least we talk about it more and have a wider understanding of it, because as you said, it's not only about the gender, it's also about cultural background, your race, it's about your sexual orientation. There's uh, so much more that goes into diversity than just being gender focused. um, so I would say that there's also about like disabilities and empowering people to do the best job, if they have any disabilities. So it's a big topic, and when you talk about diversity, uh, it's a really huge range of different type of wonderful people who come at different intersections. um, so as a gaming industry, there was a movement forward that we talk about it a lot. We have organizations that are very supportive, that trying to do their best. Women in Games is doing a lot of good stuff. And they are really doing a lot about education, and they are quite loud. And at least in UK, I know they managed to do lots of things, even on a governmental level, that they managed to go and speak, in the parliament and things like that. But it takes time to make the change, and it takes time to be heard. And there's lots of resistance to it. Lots of people think it's not a problem. Um, how is it different? I mean, I can tell you, I will tell a couple of examples which are very practical, that people don't even understand that they are doing something, I won't say wrong, but they're doing something that's biased. When I was interviewing for my first job in the gaming industry, I'm not naming names. Ones who know, but I'm not going to name names, because this is not about pointing a finger at someone. Is just kind of to having an example, because people do the best they can. People are not necessarily, when it's subconscious bias, it's subconscious. They're not aware of it. I was asked, because I didn't look like a gamer, so I was asked to name my top five games that I like. But male candidates were asked to name top three games that they like. It's a small thing, but it was immediate this bias. She doesn't look like she's playing games. So
Ah.
let's test her a bit deeper. I mean, of course, I actually did play games all my life, although I don't look like it. And my list was 15 games long, or 20, So, okay, I can talk about till tomorrow. Easy question. But, uh, it's it's kind of, when you think about it, it's a bit of a loaded question. Why are you asking me differently than a guy who looks more like a gamer? Um, when I was working for employer and I was in a position to hire people, we had most of the candidates would be they were white male, and then we had two Indian ladies. We were hiring two testers, and those two ladies were by far the best from the group. And I said, I think that these two ladies should be hired because they're the best. And then my boss said, we can't hire two Indian ladies because we're going to look biased, because we hired from all of this group two Indian ladies. He said, you have to pick one. And I refused. So I was like, I'm not going to hire a lesser candidate because you might seem biased. These two are the best. And this is for the signing off. And if you want somebody else, then you do it yourself. Um, but if I would if I would choose two white guys, nobody would say that I'm biased because they were the majority of the group. But because I picked two Indian ladies who are minorities, only two of them from the whole group, I looked biased. See where I'm getting with that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
No, no. It's clear. Why you were saying, I was even thinking, yeah, but you would have chose like, if you could choose like two Finns or two Italians, probably no one would have said
yeah,
anything.
anything.
Hmm.
So in a way, it's the same. Like 80% of the new startups that are coming out have all male founders. I'm in a startup where all the founders are female. And then I've been asked, is this on purpose? Why do I have all female founders? Do you ask the same question to all of these startups that have all male teams? I never heard anybody questioning that. Why all the founders are male? Why am I under a microscope? You know. Um, so these are some of the practical, because I can talk in a big language and in a from a bird's view, but I think that people understand more when you have really practical daily example, like how does it actually affect you. And there are like lots of examples like this everywhere. And sad part is that most of the time there's no ill intent. People don't come mean, be like, I want to destroy women, or I don't want to hire people from LGBTQ community. They just look at it. Just there's just a bias, and I'm biased as well. Like I had in my team person who is a non-binary and looks a bit flamboyant, and they are part of the LGBTQ community, and they were working together in a team where I had wonderful um, developer who were Muslim and quite religious. And I was honestly afraid, how is this going to work? Because in my head, I was automatically presuming that Muslim people might not like gay people, which is my own, subconscious bias. And
It's
that's the
what
problem.
everyone thinks. It's not only your.
But I was
Come on,
completely
everyone.
wrong, and then you catch yourself. I was like, I'm just, I'm stupid. Come on. And of course, everything went great. They were friends. They did an amazing job together. There was no issues. But it was my own bias that I realized, wait, I have it as well. So we are human. It's normal to have a bias. Nobody can say I'm bias free. We have biases about something, and biases came to humans because there were some shortcuts we took to work to be more efficient. But lots of these subconscious bias also work against us, and we don't even notice them. And unfortunately, they also affect other people because we treat them differently, and we're not even aware of that. And we're treating differently in a negative way, that we might subconsciously gatekeep them or judge them uh, before for just because we have some preconceived idea about somebody. And this is something I'm trying to fight, and I'm very passionate about and talk about. And I'm very careful when we are building teams and building companies, and to kind of really take this into account. And also, when you build diverse teams, to make sure that you give them the right support, that they can thrive and they can be successful as well.
Yeah. No, yes, like would you agree with me though on the statement, way more must yet be done?
Yes. Yes, I think that we are just at the beginning. We just scratched the surface,
Can
and now the
I
hard work is ahead of us.
the feeling is either it's either or. It's either I am not I'm cut out of any information related to what we're doing to improve that, or there is really nothing like significant, meaningful being done. I don't see what kind of initiatives we do to increase that knowledge, change the culture. As always, when we're talking about culture, we need to go to the young ones, especially. What were we doing
Yeah,
there? What are we doing
yeah.
there?
I mean, there are some things I might say there are some things that would be considered controversial, but this is my opinion. So I think there is lots of talk in a very intellectual circles. There's lots of talk which is very theoretical, but there's not enough work on the ground really that we really go into the schools, into the businesses, and have people who are actually empowered to do the change. Because you can have there are lots of companies which would have like diversity, equity, inclusion officer, or it will be part of some HR structure. But you really need somebody who is going to be in operational role, who will have all of this knowledge and skills and understand, okay, how can I make my team less biased? How can I make my team how can I make sure that that we have equitable working practices? How does this translate to my daily work? And this connection between this high level, more theoretical stuff and how we do our daily work, it's missing. And when it comes to education and young girls, there's lots of small things that are going on, but big problem is also lack of role models. And that's something that there's lots of women in the gaming industry who are doing an amazing job. But every time when people think about the gaming industry legends, it's a bunch of guys who come. There was just recently, this article about 30 most influential people in games. They were all men. I think there's a big outcry about it about 6 months ago. So we as an
Yeah.
industry have to start to celebrate women and non-binary people in the games as well, because we are not maybe so good in self-promoting ourselves, because that's another bias we have. And women is self-promoting themselves, they're perceived as non-likable. So we need other people to support us and to make us be more visible, and to make sure that that these young generations see that you can do anything, that you can be a great coder, that you can be great creative, great game designer, a great producer, and it doesn't matter what's your background. And I think we have been celebrating good old guys too much. I mean, they deserve credit, but we have to expand whom are we celebrating, because there are lots of people doing amazing job, but they're just not promoted or self-promoting enough. And we as industry have to be like, okay, let's take a step back and see who is doing what, and let's try to elevate these voices, other voices that are also part of this industry. So thank you, Pietro, for actually helping doing this with your podcast and inviting maybe with more unusual suspects to talk and express themselves.
No, but and there's gonna be another guest. Not next one, probably like it's gonna be like in two episodes. That she is also huge, and actually she wrote books about this topic. So I'm gonna go like deep into that. I'm gonna delve into everything regarding that topic. For me, actually, as what I'm gonna ask is like all about equity. What equity
Hmm.
is? How can we make that something? But listen, what you were talking, right? Um, about the 30 people, the 30 most influential people, blah blah blah, all the part. It came to me something that I've been thinking about for ages, and that the problem is isolation. Isolation, as in whenever I think we should stop giving reward as for a special category, but it needs to be all included until we're gonna leave women in games. I remember even I cannot say when exactly and when, but there was a part of my career where I asked to a company I was working with, oh, we have women in games, we're participating in women in games, can I be in that somehow, please? I have ideas. And I've been told no, no, like it wouldn't be good to be a man. And and my problem with it's that until we isolate ourselves, if we have a problem and you keep isolated doing specific things, specific categories, they're gonna be always specific separate categories. They're not gonna be, sorry for that, look,
No,
the
not
talking.
really.
But they're always gonna be separate categories until we make them feel like this is normal. Like 30 most influential people. In that, I need to see two people from the LGBTQ plus community.
Mhm,
They needs to be
mhm,
there. Like women, they need to be there. We need to be.
mhm.
So sorry. Okay, let me calm the. It's going to go
Yeah, I mean,
down, right?
it's also about what we see. There's lots of this about who is a rock star and guru in the industry, and usually it's the people who are the loudest. But are they really? If we scratch the surface, I know lots of people who are super talented, doing crazy, mad, great shit, but they really don't like to expose themselves too much, or they don't know how, or they don't think it's important. And that's something also how we perceive who is really a rock star, how we perceive who should we follow only. It's also a little bit about perception of, are we going to follow the loudest, or are we going to follow somebody who might be more silent but doing great things? And this is not only gaming, this is in general in the world, how we perceive somebody as a leader, that usually perceive the people who are very outspoken, but do they really have the skills, or do they really have achievements that we should celebrate? And that's not easy to fix things like that. That's something that we have to kind of rethink how we see leadership and values, and so I said, like, maybe giving a little bit more power to the people who are introvert, or maybe don't feel they don't know how, or they don't really focus on promoting themselves.
Yes, amen to all that. Like to me, it's always like the biggest topic until we involve the people. It's like something similar to when here in Poland we have no laws for abortion, right?
Mm.
And for me, is until we use certain statements that are it's only about women, the man they would never feel involved. It was never think that it's their problem, right? And then it
Yes.
will be always be relegated to it's a female's problem. It's
Mm.
their problem. Like it's not my problem. So 50% of the population will not care as much, right? Why would they care that much? Anyway, it's their problem. But it's not. The
No.
baby is the son of a woman or like let's say of two
Yeah.
people, right? So we need to include the other person in the conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's something that's very often excluded, because we need male allies. We need men to speak up and stand up and join in the good fight, because this is not good for anybody. This is not only that it's bad for women, it's bad for society, it's bad for the industry, it's bad for men. Patriarchy is bad for everybody besides selected small group of people who are on the top of the pyramid. And that's where I think that we maybe, but it's probably like, for example, my spouse didn't even realize how bad certain things are until he started to live with me and start to see the industry and the world through my eyes. He was like, "You have to go through this?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, welcome to my reality, which is a bit different." And I think that we should speak more about it, and there should be more also inclusivity to invite men and say, "Hey, be proactively, be like, hey, this is your fight as well. Help us out. Let's do this together."
Thank you. Well, I can feel his stupor, right, when this probably was was aware. Changing just a little bit the topic, because I'm also interested. We started running short in time, but there are a few other things that you do that I want people to know about you. So the EIC initiative, is that correct? Did I say it correct?
That's
EIC.
European Innovation Council. That's part of EU legislative body, in a lack of better explanation. So it's official organization.
Okay, okay, and as part of that, if that's here, if I don't know if I understood it correct, but as part of that, you are mentoring underrepresented leaders.
Yeah. So it's really they kind of change it. So it's really about female leaders, and they have, so it's a European Innovation Council initiative. They have different cohorts. So every year, I think there are two cohorts, and they choose mentors to help out the women in the leadership role in European, generally startup industries, because it's very different. There's some challenges that we face are very different than the men face, and sometimes you need to hear from another woman who was in the same situation or went through the same challenges. And it also helps to validate the issues as well, because sometimes, when you experience something but your male colleagues are not, you're asking like, is it me? So sometimes it helps to just to bounce back, to talk to somebody, say, hey, I'm experiencing this. Is this like, why is this happening? So I've been doing that. I think I've participated in 3 cycles now, met some wonderful, wonderful women. Got really outside of the gaming industry as well, because these founders don't work in the gaming industry; they work in the different industries. Struck some long-lasting friendships, and realized how much we all share in common across Europe, because I was mentoring women who are uh, 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 like work in Holland or in Romania. So, we have different geographical areas in Europe, but we all experience, let's say, similar challenges, insecurities, problems. And it feels very rewarding to be able to support them in their journey and help them out. And I'm very pleased to be able to do that. Then you also feel like, okay, my experience is doing something good, that I can kind of help somebody go through the hard time, or resolve a problem, or feel better about themselves, or get a boost or support, you know, that they need to kind of keep on going, overcome something. So that's something that I feel it's really, really rewarding and kind of soul feeds my soul when you do things like that, because you can really see the difference, and uh, you feel that you're part of the positive change as well.
Okay. Wow. It's yeah. And do you think that like your past experience in you had experience before the video game industry, you had experience in IT and government also associated some yeah, right? Do you think that that kind of helped you in
Yeah,
what you're doing today, especially with the EIC initiative?
yeah, it did. I studied leadership long time ago, but I studied like lots of new modern management methodologies, which really help to kind of understand how leadership can be. And then, I was leading this very major, big projects for the British government in Croatia at the time. And there's lots of responsibility. Then you have to learn as well how to deal with different types of people, how to, balance being, professional, but also having a human face. And definitely, and also dealing with just, as I said, variety of people from all different backgrounds. So that definitely helped. My experience in IT, because it's mostly Finnish, it was about, getting used to the Finnish geek culture that prepared me for the gaming industry.
Okay, that helped you to be prepared, like in the
Yeah,
culture. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay, and I would. So there are two things I would like to talk about, but we already have like 53 minutes in. Let's see if we can do it like relatively short, or let's talk only about one. And like one is leading the way, which is your
Mm.
podcast that I listen to, and I find
Oh,
once again inspiring. But it's kind of connected to what we're talking about now, right?
yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I will just say it in a minute. So I won't take too much time for that. I'm talking about my experience of being a female entrepreneur in a male-dominated industry. It's again just to. It's very honest. That's about it. That this. It's not edited at all. Everything what comes out comes out. It's very honest. That's kind of my trademark. And from next month, I start to have guests, so other female entrepreneurs who will, tell their stories. So yeah, uh, it just kind of like I felt that I want to share what I went through, and if it can help to somebody, it's kind of extension of my mentoring. If you want to, but I say it's for women, but I know it helps lots of men as well. Like, I actually lots of men reach out to me. It's like, I listen to the podcast. It's amazing. I was like, thanks. So I'm glad to hear it resonates with other people as well. They enjoy it and they find something in it. So yeah, it's enough for my podcast.
It's why we do it, right? Like on it,
Yeah,
even for me, this is just because I want to bring a smile to
yeah.
people's face. I want people to listen about like someone in the video game industry and find it interesting, like knowing a little bit about their lives. Is that don't do it for any particular glory. And then, is there anything else you're working on that you would like to talk about, or you can talk about, or is there anything else you're working on?
I work on so many stuff all the time. uh, well, I do have another book in the pipeline, so I'm working on
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so that's another book. It will be about the game production. So that's another thing I did for a long time. And it's going to be in the same track. So it's going to be about how to produce mobile free to play games. It's going to be a big part about live ops as well. Simply, there's not much about it out there. It's a bit mysterious. So, what I learned, I'm putting in a book. And yeah, so hopefully, it should be out even by the end of this year. Let's see how busy I am,
Okay.
how much pressure publisher put on me to get it out earlier. It's a combination of both. They're like, okay, how is it going? I'm like, it's going, it's going.
That's
But I'm glad. Okay, I'm able to do that because it feels like that all of these things because I don't work in production hands-on anymore. I help out and advise, but I don't do it anymore. But then you feel like this is the way to kind of have this knowledge passed
yeah.
on to other people who might find it useful because these days I'm doing more high level stuff like leadership and C-level stuff and consulting, which is not necessarily so hands-on. And I feel like, okay, this is going to go to waste. And this is a great way to have like, okay, this is how it works. Hope that helps. And I feel like it's leaving some kind of trail and it helps other people to walk in the same shoes and find a job easier and they get support. Because I said there's not many books or materials about it. It's a little bit, our industry is a bit mysterious sometimes, that you don't know what you don't know, or you can learn only when you are in the industry. And
Yeah.
this might help understand the industry better or help you get your foot in if you get this with like a really practical guide and explanation how the industry works and what should take into account. So hopefully it's going to help people to get into production or get into the gaming industry in general.
Wow, that's thank you very much. So, like, I will. So, to the listeners, my first suggestion would be go listen to the podcast.
Yes.
It's called "Leading the Way."
Mhm.
Then, second step, if you can, if you want, read something about QA. I know many of you don't want to do that. QA is the necessary evil, blah blah. Yes, but it's there, and it's not the necessary evil. It's more important than we think. It helps
Yeah.
development in many ways that we're not gonna be here debating too much. We talk a little about that, but I would say buy the book. It's really is a good book. And when the new one will come along, we also I suggest to just check it and buy it if you can. So we're left with no time. So Nikolina, it's a pleasure talking to you. The
Thank you.
company you work for, you did great things in your career. I am in awe with what you've done. I still like chatting with you. I check everything on your LinkedIn. I'm always there. If you think I was like a good host, I would feel I would feel very happy. I hope I was a good host for you. I don't
You're a
have the
great
same experience.
host. You're a
Thank
great
you.
host.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed this conversation very much. It really felt like, just catching up with an old friend and talking things. And that's the best
Yeah.
way. It didn't feel like an interview. So I loved it. Yeah.
And and that's exactly the type of outcome that I want to have. Someone that tells me this was a conversation, not just an interview. So thank you, Nikolina. Like the audience also, I hope is supporting me in saying thank you very much. It was nice to have you as my second guest, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much, Nico.
Thanks. Same to you.
Ciao,
Thanks so much.
ciao,
Ciao. Bye.
ciao.